These are the visuals that we're getting from the Bharat Mandapam, New Delhi. The Prime Minister has arrived. The G20 meeting, it's about to begin in a short while from now. We'll be getting you all the updates. These are the live visuals of the venue that we're getting currently. As you can see on your screens, the Nataraja here, the Bharat Mandapam, that's the venue of the G20 summit that's about to begin shortly. The sessions today are on One Earth, One Family. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has arrived at the venue. The stage is all set for the G20 summit. There you can see these are the visuals that are coming in. Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the venue. The Grand Summit will begin shortly in India's capital, New Delhi. World's most powerful leaders, they are expected to discuss key issues related to global economy, security and climate action over the course of the two-day summit. These are the live visuals that we're getting from New Delhi. You can see the visuals on your screens right now. These are live visuals from Bharat Mandapam, New Delhi, the venue for the Grand G20 Summit. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has arrived at the venue. The world's most powerful leaders, they are arriving here for discussions on key issues related to global economy. There you can see Prime Minister Narendra Modi with Dr. S. Jaishankar at the venue. A lot is lined up for day one of the summit after the ceremonial reception of the visiting leaders. Two important sessions have been scheduled to take place at the summit venue. These are the visuals that we're getting live from the summit venue. That's Prime Minister Narendra Modi right there on your screens. You can see he has arrived at the venue. The first session that's been scheduled for the day, it's called One Earth. It's expected to be on climate action. The second session will be on One Family, set to take place later today. Key bilateral meetings have also been lined up for the summit. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi will hold talks later in the day with UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz and Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. A weekend of hectic parleys in diplomacy. India is all set for the G20 summit. The summit is set to begin shortly in New Delhi. These are the visuals that we're getting live from the summit venue, Bharat Mandapam, New Delhi. As you can see, New Delhi is all decked up for the crucial G20 summit. That's the Nataraj statue at the Bharat Mandapam, New Delhi. Also on the show, of course, we have with us our Voice of America correspondent Jessica Stone with us. We also have with us Molly Gambhir, who is on ground. Thank you both for joining us. Molly, let's start with you. What can you tell us? What's the mood like on ground? What can you tell us of the preparations at the venue?
We're a very crucial 2 days ahead, not just for India, but for the global community, as the leaders of the most important, the world's largest economies as a part of the group of 20 converge here in New Delhi. A highly anticipated summit which comes with a lot of expectations, also opportunities and challenges. After all, India's primary focus and emphasis has been also on bridging the gap between G7 and Global South and emerging as a voice of the Global South. And that has also been an overarching theme as far as the Prime Minister's messaging is concerned in the build-up to the G20 summit. Here, where we are at the International Media Center, of course, a hectic activity has been underway since early hours of the morning. This is going to be the venue where international media has been stationed as well, covering each and every minute of the developments as they pan out. A lot of questions as far as the expectations are concerned about the outcome and whether or not the divisions among the member countries will actually impact the outcome, given the tone and tenor that some Western countries have already adopted, and whether or not that will actually influence the outcome. But of course, at the moment, we're looking at the way New Delhi is all geared up at the venue for the G20 summit, and with the arrival of the leaders and the commencement of the summit in just a short while from now, where we will see the first session taking place. Of course, the larger message being that of one Earth, one family, one future, and that has been the overarching theme for India as far as its presidency is concerned.
Right, absolutely, Molly. Of course, as we know, New Delhi, it's been gearing up for this crucial summit. The Bharat Mandapam venue has been decked to the nines. Could you just tell us about the preparations there, the security situation, and also the decor? Could you just show us around a little bit?
Sure, right here where I am, the International Media Center is where we are seeing the media personnel stationed all around me, which is, of course, where we will be getting all the updates from the venue. We will be also keeping a close eye on the statements coming in from the leaders, and just getting a better sense of the preparations. Of course, we've been talking about the kind of security arrangements that have been made in the run-up to the crucial event beginning. Also, given the kind of emphasis that New Delhi has also laid on emerging as an international force to reckon with, and a voice of the global south, and also a country which has emerged as a very prominent hub for discussions, not just economic but also wide-ranging in order to find solutions to global concerns and problems. Yeah.
Right, absolutely. Well, we also now have with us our principal diplomatic correspondent, Siddhant Sibal. Well, Molly, that was all about the decorations and the preparations there. Siddhant, coming to you now. Let's get on with some difficult questions here. We've seen that differences do persist over the language and the communique. What can you tell us about that, Siddhant?
Well, when it comes to what are the key expectations from the summit here in Delhi, one thing is for sure that India is going to focus on putting the concerns of the global south at the high table. Now, India is also focusing on Africa with the inclusion of African Union as a permanent invitee at the group's proceedings. But essentially, we know it's West versus Russia and China over the Ukraine conflict. How much that dominates the summit, it is well known. And of course, there are headlines by both the warring faction, to quote unquote. But essentially, when it comes to this year's summit, India wants to use this as an opportunity to showcase itself, as we know, when it comes to hosting the several meetings of the G20 groupings, ministerial and official level meetings from across the country, to giving that very important Indian imprint on global governance architecture, calling for reforms of the global governance architecture. And India sees hosting this summit as an important milestone in its rise at the global platform at a time when it's the 5th largest economy in the world and the most populated country in the world. It sees its voice matters and the world should listen to it.
Right, absolutely. Also, I have with me here at WION headquarters, Jessica Stone, our Voice of America correspondent. Jessica, of course, you're getting more information about a proposed rail port deal announcement during the G20 summit today as well. What can you tell us?
So this is really interesting. It's sort of eked out over the last 24 to 36 hours, right? And the White House officials I've been talking to say that there is an MOU that will be announced today between India, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and the EU. And it's very heavily backed by both the US and India. Prime Minister Modi has taken a great interest in this. It's a rail and port deal that will link commerce, energy, and digital communications. And it's interesting, the White House officials are characterizing this as a non-coercive, transparent infrastructure deal. So what does that tell you in the use of those words, right? Those are words that they often use to characterize the way that China does the Belt and Road Initiative. Those loans are considered much more coercive. And so this is clearly an alternative to that. But at the same time, it achieves a goal for the United States of deepening economic integration in the Middle East and keeping, it's harder to fight when you have economic integration, particularly in that part of the world. One other thing I would just say is that they're comparing it to the Lobito Corridor, which I wasn't terribly familiar with before I heard White House officials talk about, but this is an older type of trade corridor that spans Central Africa through Angola, and it's also a way to move minerals in particular through the continent.
Right, and now talking about China, how effective do you think such a deal would prove to be when it comes to countering China's growing assertiveness?
Well, I think what the U.S. position has been is that countries want alternatives. Whenever you ask the question of them directly, are you trying to pit countries, are you trying to put countries around the world in a position where they have to choose between the U.S. and China? They will say to a person, no, we're just trying to provide alternatives, because that's what countries around the world say they want. And certainly that's in the interest of India as well, right?
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.